Serious. Would you ever not date someone because of their political views and stances on various social, public issues? Why? Why not? Attention. Serious. Tag notice, jokes, puns, and off-topic comments are not permitted in any comment, parent or child. Parent comments that aren't from the target group will be removed, along with their child replies. Report comments that violate these rules, posts that have few relevant answers within the first hour, and posts that are not appropriate for the serious tag will be removed. Consider doing an AMA request instead. Thanks for your cooperation and enjoy the discussion. I am a bot, and this action was performed automatically. Please contact the moderators of this subreddit if you have any questions or concerns. Having already been in a relationship with someone whose core beliefs, instincts, education and politics were diametrically opposed to my own in almost if not all avenues, I can safely say that I never ever want to do that again. It's one thing to have a slight difference of opinion, that's fine and more than fair enough, quite often, as long as you can both be civil and patient, that can lead to a mutual education in the alternative perspective to your own. But if you and your so disagree on absolutely everything except how good your genitals feel when you rub them together, things aren't going to last happily for very long once you're out of that rabbit honeymoon stage. Absolutely. Political views, religion, views on family, there are tons of things that are lightning rods for an adversarial relationship. 100%, and actually had a long-term crush of sorts completely die in an instant after she went on a political rant last Halloween. While I'm very much of the belief that it's healthy to have different points of view and opinions about things, when we're talking about a romantic relationship this kind of stuff really matters. If someone's fundamental worldview and value system is totally different to yours, it might not work out well in the long run. Absolutely. Political and religious beliefs communicate to me a particular value system. If yours are so different than mine, it means we have different values and rules we follow. If I don't share a value system with my partner, it won't work. Depends. If we disagree about candidates' funding plan for the new local play park, well, survive. That's an agreed defined goal with slightly different paths, if they're wildly different morally, or we can't find mural facts we agree on, it's not ever going to work. I wouldn't view them as a good person, and would feel disingenuous dating someone I can't respect. Yes, I've been married over 30 years, so I'm not dating. But one of the top things I love about my husband is the fact that we pretty much agree 100% on political and social issues. On the rare occasions that we've ever disagreed on an issue, it turned out that one of us just wasn't fully aware of everything behind it. One of us may feel more strongly about an issue at times than the other, but we are always on the same side, so there is lots of mutual respect. These past 4 years, I absolutely could not have lived with someone who supported the politics of candidates I consider to be morally bankrupt. Yes, because I've come to realize when you strip the bullshit away from politics, it always is a discussion on human right. I love a good debate, but I'd rather not be in a relationship with someone where we're on opposite sides. At the end of the day, I don't care how we get there as much, but I want to be going in the same direction. Sure, it speaks to values. The question is, are you dating to fuck or to marry? If it's the former, then hell yeah, date people with other political views. If it's the latter, then you probably want someone with similar views so you don't clash long term. Not saying couples with opposite politics don't exist, but they're few and far between. Yes, I'm Muslim. Some people think I shouldn't exist. Some people want me literally expelled from their country. Definitely okay to judge people on their political views sometimes. Especially when their views are immoral/dehumanizing/based on racist beliefs. That's not their political view, that's who they are as a person. Some people grow out of it. Most people don't. While I believe that people with opposing views on many things can have a happy life together, I think that core values certainly need to align. For example, I would not be able to have a successful relationship with someone who was anti-vax, whose life revolved around religion, or who was anti-feminist, or anti-LGBTQ. My core values would not settle well with any of those. My parents loved each other and had a happy, healthy relationship until Dad passed. He was a Republican, and she a Democrat. Both were moderates, and their core values still aligned. There are plenty of political views I don't really care if a partner disagrees with me on, but there are some very strict lines in the sand when politics starts to actually be human rights. I can respect the difference in opinion of budgetary priorities and have a strong loving relationship in spite of that difference. I cannot when the difference is whether or not poor people deserve to starve to death. I would never date someone who is against vaccines or science. I am religious, but even I believe that scientists shape our world. Also, someone who makes fun of people with disabilities is a hard pass also, because I'm blind and I don't make fun of others. Also, it's just mean to do that kind of thing anyway. I refuse to fuck anyone who would not be okay with me getting an abortion should my birth control ever fail. My doctors say a pregnancy would kill me, the fetus, both of us, and safest option is abortion should I find myself pregnant. I used to think I could date someone who had different political views from my own as long as they didn't push it upon me. That changed after the pandemic hit. I was in a relationship and living with someone who I found out had vastly different views, opinions on things I found to be extremely important, that is vaccines. When they cried, begging me not to get the vaccine, that's when I knew I couldn't be with someone who had different opinions on such matters. Lesson learned. I've been dumped for believing in the minimum wage, not increasing it even, just not wanting it banned altogether. Some people want relationships all about having another person who echoes everything they say. 100%, I think anyone who says that you shouldn't judge someone based off their political, social beliefs is crazy. If they support a political figure who is known to be racist, violent, horrible, etc., you already know honestly, and they support and stand for them and their views and what they believe in, aligning themselves with those views, they too have the same views. Their political beliefs and stance on social issues is very reflective on their own character and personality, and not something that can be ignored. Absolutely, if part of your political views include making things harder for the LGBT community, or treating trans people like subhumans, we cannot be partners. I'm not subhuman and I refuse to be with someone who would see me as such. My wife and I are very different on many political matters. Our votes often cancel each other out. There are many solutions to political issues. However, I would draw the line at following the conspiracy opinion kooks, for example Alex Jones and Q. Yeah, I'm a minority, so if someone has opinions against my identity or others I need to be united with, like disabled people, different races, etc., then I just wouldn't really be able to date them. It's not like I care always or go out of my way to change people's opinions, but I need to trust that my date won't make fun of me behind my back or something. I also don't want to date someone who treats others like shit. You know, if it's more economic or political solution debates those vary all the time and it's okay, but for social issues you just have to be on the same page. I would not date any man who is against abortion. I hope I'll never have to make that choice. Would be as safe as possible, but there are no guarantees. I would rather be single than risk that situation with a man who would treat me like I'm obligated to carry a pregnancy I don't want or give birth against my will, especially if he thinks some politician has any business dictating that for me. Absolutely, there are people that someone can like and support that I think are evil in the flesh, If a person liked and supported those evil people and their evil goals, then I would not want to be in the same room with them, much less date them. Similarly, I could not ever date someone that has a lot of hate for some segment of the population. Maybe I should just say, someone that has a lot of hate. Can you imagine dating the horned idiot that invaded the Capitol? Yes, how could anyone ignore that? Political views show very clearly how much empathy a person has towards other people and how they see their relationship with the world, how they react to conflicting political views. Even more so, I could never even think about dating someone who is in favor of criminalization of abortion and drug use, for example, as that shows a lack of comprehension on whom and how those policies affect. I could never date someone who is in favor of wars and the use of force to exert power regardless of the excuse. I could never date someone who does not understand or accept the consequences of marginalization and economical disparity. I would not date a Trump supporter. Being a Trump supporter tells me that you have a fundamentally different understanding of the world than I do, and I'm not interested in dating or befriending such people. This isn't to say that I wouldn't date someone with different views than my own, but the specific ways that your understanding of the world must differ from my own in order to become a Trump supporter. I don't want anything to do with that. It really depends on the view. If the other person is a radical about anything, that is probably a turn-off, as that's what they'll most likely be most interested in, and they likely won't respect my views. All political discussion requires nuance and compromise. A successful marriage or relationship is built on trust and compatibility. You don't have to agree on everything, but it's a good idea to have common ground when it comes to things you are passionate about. Otherwise, the relationship could become extremely toxic. For instance, I learned after my last relationship ended that my ex-partner was racist and homophobic. I had wanted to be friends with him, but when I learned his political views and how radical they were, it was a hard no for me. Yes, of course, these aren't just window trimmings, they are pretty important, and I found out the hard way around here many cannot date someone who is an atheist, so I had to make a personal rule to just bring that up and not get attached because it's never ended well. And can you imagine having one person who really wants kids, like 2-4, and another one who doesn't want any? That's a big deal. It would depend honestly, but mostly number. I was raised in a very democratic, left-leaning household, and that's all I've ever known. And before you get started on I haven't done my research, yes I have, and I would like to mention that because of my family, they absolutely would not tolerate anybody of a different party or belief. I always found it a bit harsh, but as I grew older I began to realize why. My father's family are very right-wing, religious and Republican. My father, on the contrary, is very liberal, atheist, and left-leaning. Due to this, it caused a massive drift in the family, constant arguments, curse words being thrown back and forth, and just a lot of drama. So this taught me from a young age that people from different beliefs can't get along. Now that I'm older, I know otherwise. Another reasoning for my answer is based on my location of upbringing. I was born and raised in northern Mississippi. Almost everyone here is Republican, and not the good type either. I was harassed in school because I was open and very passionate on my views. I still am to this day. So, just the fact that I had a different opinion than them, I was hated by them, and I do not want that from my partner. So politically, I don't see myself dating another person of a different party. Religion doesn't matter to me, as long as they respect my opinion. Anyone who is an ideological or religious supremacist is automatically disqualified in my books. Anyone who can't be reasoned with by evidence and critical thinking is a waste of my time. Anyone who lacks sympathy is disqualified too. Yeah, a difference of opinion is arguing about your favorite pizza toppings, or the best movie, abortion rights, LGBT rights, racism, etc. That's not a difference of opinions, that's a completely different moral code. Obviously yes, if they think any race is superior, inferior, that's a complete deal breaker. Same if they want to limit equal protection under the law for any sex, sexual orientation, age, religion, or political opinion. Definitely, politics are your moral values. I obviously don't want to date someone who has bad morals. I would think they were a bad person, and obviously you can't date someone you believe is a bad person. Politics aren't just trivial opinions like what movies are good or what sports team is best. It's stuff like whether LGBTQ people should have equal human rights and whether poor people deserve to die in the street of preventable illnesses. It's not a trivial difference of opinion, it's a fundamental difference in morals and values. Yes, I can't just say nah, politics shouldn't get in the way because politics impact our lives too much. How I can date someone who doesn't understand the kindness of a welfare state or if they support extreme anti-immigration policies, etc. These types of policies impact our lives. It also helps tell me more about what type of person they are. Yes, you are your politics. And there is no way that your inhumanity towards others won't leak into your personal relationships, and I think that's an ugly enough personality trait that it would make you immediately unattractive to me. I have, in fact, broke up with my childhood best friend over the stuff. I have no room in my life for amoral people. Yes, I can't be in a relationship with someone who has radically different political views than me. Love has borders. Racism is one, for example. Intolerance and homophobia, too, and especially QAnon idiots. I think it was 2008-ish when California voted on legalizing gay marriage. It was a super big deal. My then boyfriend went on a whole rant about how he doesn't mind if gays get married but he doesn't want that taught to his kids in school. What are they teaching kids about marriage in public school? And who cares? Broke up with him on the spot. He accused me of being dramatic. Don't miss him a bit. I'm not cool with making others' lives harder over something that doesn't even affect me. Absolutely, because those are my core values. It's how I view the world. If we have differing opinions on major political topics that I'm passionate about, I'm going to have a hard time relating to you. I need to be able to relate with you. Politics aren't everything, but they are a huge factor. Of course, a lot of political views isn't just a difference in opinion, it's literal human rights that shouldn't even be considered politics because there should be no reason for the government to be involved in it. So if someone supports the other side, then they're not the type of person I'd want to associate myself with at all. I hate to give credit to Ben Shapiro, but he made a good point when he said that core moral values are really important when looking for a relationship. Lots of people's political stances have deep roots going back to their childhood, and if your stances are polar opposites, it's going to be hard to make a connection. That's not to say that you shouldn't ever date anyone with opposing political views, but it is important to see how much they care about said views because chances are you'll run into a situation where they have to choose between you or their values. Could be wrong, though, that's just my 2 cents. Absolutely, political beliefs typically align with someone's sense of morality or the values they hold dear. If those values or morality conflict terribly with mine, say, someone is anti-LGBT while I am bisexual, then I could not date them, so forth and so on. Up until the recent GOP disinformation nation, my answer would be number. I would respect her views and we could have a debate on our positions. However, if she were part of Trump Q Nation, hell to the number. Not only does it demonstrate that she's easily susceptible to disinformation, can be gaslit, vulnerable to scare tactics, willing to join a political cult, and unable to use critical thinking to evaluate a candidate. For sizzle, I'm trying to live according to my beliefs, so if there's a big clash there it's a no-go. Like if I have kids they need to get vaccinated, And if you gonna be bathing in single-use plastic and not giving a fuck about the environment and not gonna take a stand against discriminations of all kinds, then